The story begins along the dimly lit streets of Seoul. A young boy stands at a pedestrian crossing, waiting patiently for the traffic light to turn green. The moment the signal changes, he steps forward to cross the road. As his gaze drifts sideways, his eyes widen in shock. A massive truck barrels toward him at terrifying speed. Frozen in fear, he cannot move away. The truck hits, but instead of the cold embrace of death, the boy opens his eyes to find himself in an entirely different world, a fantastical land filled with monsters, magic, and dragons. It has been a year since Kim Min-soo arrived in this unknown realm. Once an ordinary boy from Seoul, he now lives a life full of wonder and hardship. At first, he cried endlessly, wishing to escape, desperate to go back home. Yet, with the support of the kind people around him, he found hope, a faint light guiding him toward the possibility of returning. He adapted to this world. On battlefields where countless lives were lost, he fought bravely, striving to balance justice with survival. Before coming here, he was just a normal person who only vaguely understood the meaning of courage and comradeship. But countless battles with his companions granted him both. He learned what true friendship and bravery meant. As he reflects, Kim Min-soo thinks of his parents. Though they may never know, their son has grown stronger. He has endured great loss, comrades who died in battle, but he also gained much in return: friends, teammates, and purpose. Despite everything, he has endured more than he has fallen. Sitting before a massive gate, Kim Min-soo writes these words in a letter. His eyes are dark and heavy with exhaustion, not only from battle, but from the emotional burdens he carries. Finally, the end of this long, grueling year is in sight. As he writes, a voice calls out to him from behind, asking if he is ready. He nods silently and rises to his feet. Clad in silver armor like a noble knight, he looks down at the unfinished letter, thinking quietly whether there is any point in writing one he cannot send. Placing both hands on the enormous gate carved with crimson symbols resembling ancient runes, he prays to his parents, asking them to pray for him as well, so that he might defeat the Demon King, return to his daily life, and look back on this year as nothing more than a long dream. His comrades, watching with hopeful eyes, wish him success. As the giant gates slowly open, darkness spreads before him. His reflection shows both dread and quiet determination. With a deep breath, he prays once again that he may see his parents when he returns. Beyond the gate stands the Demon King, a colossal being radiating vibrant, luminous energy. Multiple arms extend from its massive body, each holding a weapon, while numerous horns crown its head like a demonic deity. The scene shifts. A massive bell tolls across the land, announcing the hero's victory. Kim Min-soo has slain the Demon King. As the hero and his party ride into town on a grand carriage, the streets erupt in celebration. People cheer for the saviors who liberated the world from terror. Inside the magnificent castle, chefs rush to prepare exquisite dishes while musicians play lively tunes. The hero and his comrades sit together around a grand dining table, celebrating their triumph over a warm meal. Laughter and conversation fill the air, yet Kim Min-soo sits quietly, his expression somber amidst the joy. The priestess smiles softly at him, telling him that tomorrow he will finally return to his world. Looking at his reflection in the drink before him, Kim Min-soo murmurs to himself, confirming that it is true. He will be going home tomorrow. When he first arrived in this world, he never thought this day would come. With a bright smile, the priestess teases him, reminding him how he cried when he first came here. She then wraps him in a warm hug, praising him for doing so well. Her words and kindness startle him, and tears roll down his cheeks as emotions overwhelm him, the longing for his family and friends returning all at once. The rest of the party joins in, congratulating him with smiles. They laugh and tease about the romance between the hero and the priestess, making both of them blush while the others burst into laughter. One of the teammates asks if he has ever thought of staying in this world instead. A fairy chimes in, saying that he doesn't have to go back if he doesn't want to. The priestess scolds them gently, reminding them that Kim Min-soo misses his hometown deeply and that saying such things is selfish and cruel. The party members sigh and reluctantly agree, admitting that it's a shame he has to leave. Holding his hand, the priestess prays for him, hoping that just as he saved their world, he too will find a blessed and happy life waiting for him back home. 3 weeks pass. In the middle of Seoul's busy streets, a lone boy stands amidst the crowd. It is Kim Min-soo. His eyes are dark, lifeless, and full of sorrow. Though he saved an entire world, he could not save himself. After returning to his original world, he went back home, only to find a stranger living there. In the 8 months he was gone, tragedy had struck. His mother had died in a hit-and-run accident while handing out flyers about his disappearance. Overcome with guilt, his father took his own life soon after, unable to bear the loss. His father's death became a small newspaper article, and Kim Min-soo's missing person notice was printed at the very end, barely noticed. Standing before his parents' graves, Kim Min-soo wept bitterly. The police labeled him as a missing teenager. His school expelled him, ignoring his desperate pleas to cancel the expulsion. Teachers scolded him, calling him a runaway, while his hollow eyes stared into nothing. His friends abandoned him, their parents forbidding them from meeting him. No one offered him help. Beaten and berated by his relatives, Kim Min-soo suffered endlessly. His uncle accused him of causing his parents' deaths, claiming he ran away and never called them. Lying bruised and broken on the ground, he looked up as his aunt, eyes filled with contempt, told him to leave and never return. With nowhere to go, no family, no money, no degree, and no social life, Kim Min-soo began sleeping on the sidewalks. Now, standing once again in the crowded streets, tears fill his eyes. His heart sinks under the weight of despair as he wonders if all of this is just a cruel dream. He saved countless lives and risked everything to return home, yet he is met only with loneliness. He questions why he was abandoned. As he stands lost in thought, a man bumps into him and angrily curses, blaming him for standing in the way. The man flicks Kim Min-soo's forehead mockingly. A woman nearby intervenes, telling the man not to bully him because he already looks like a loser. The man laughs, saying Kim Min-soo is lucky his girlfriend told him to leave it, and begins to walk away. But Kim Min-soo turns to them, his eyes filled with tears, and asks why they aren't sad. The man frowns in confusion, irritation rising. Kim Min-soo asks again, wondering aloud if the man isn't sad because he never had to save the world. Furious, the man grabs Kim Min-soo by the hair, shouting at him to speak louder. At that moment, Kim Min-soo stretches out his hand and calls for his sword, Tyrant. The woman laughs mockingly, saying he's acting like a character from an anime. The man raises his fist to punch him, but before the blow lands, a massive sword descends from the sky, crushing the man instantly. Blood and rubble splatter everywhere. The woman freezes, realizing what just happened only when warm blood splashes across her face. Her eyes widen in horror as she screams, seeing only the man's severed hand lying before her. As armor materializes over Kim Min-soo's body, he wipes his tears and mutters that this feels right, that he wants everyone to be sad, just like him. It isn't fair that he alone should suffer. He was the hero. He was supposed to be the last person to feel sorrow. He grips the massive sword tightly and raises it into the air, saying that he deserves to be rewarded. In the next moment, he swings the sword with immense force. A blinding light engulfs the city as a massive explosion tears through Seoul. The shockwave spreads outward, destroying everything in its path. When the light fades, Kim Min-soo stands alone in the center of a vast crater, the only survivor. The hero who once saved the world now stands amidst ruin. The tale that should have ended with, "and they lived happily ever after," concludes differently. The city of Seoul, specifically the Gangso region, has been completely erased from existence. 3 weeks have passed since the hero's rampage. On the outskirts of Gyeonggi province, traffic stretches endlessly. Hundreds of cars jam the highway, their horns blaring in frustration. Everyone, at some point, has imagined how the world might end, through nuclear war, natural disasters, or even a zombie apocalypse. Yet among the gridlocked traffic, no one could have imagined that the world's destruction would come from a hero. Inside one of the cars sits a boy named Jung-soo Park, along with his family. His mother nervously complains about the unbearable traffic, her voice trembling. Beside her, the grandmother prays quietly, shivering in panic. Jung-soo's younger sister, Daebin, clutches a teddy bear tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. She sobs, asking where they are going and why they had to leave their father behind. Jung-soo tries to comfort her. He had received a message from their father, saying he would meet them in Busan and instructing the family to head south. Jung-soo replies nervously, assuring his sister that they'll definitely see their father again once they arrive. He holds her hand gently, telling her to wipe her tears and stay calm. All around, panic fills the air. The situation is far worse than anyone could have imagined. No one ever believed the world would end like this. A police officer shouts through a loudspeaker, his voice echoing over the chaos. He warns everyone that the hero is on their tail and that he has almost reached their location. Standing before the massive line of cars, the officer directs the crowd, urging them to abandon their vehicles and move on foot in an orderly manner. "Leave your cars behind. Move quickly but calmly," he yells, trying to maintain control. People begin to pour out of their cars, moving forward in disarray. Among them, Jungsu's mother turns toward Jungsu, telling him to look after Dabin. They could get separated if they weren't careful. Jungsu nods nervously, promising to stay close. Then, the officer's voice echoes again. The hero is approaching the area. Before he can finish, a deafening crash shakes the air. A massive tank falls from the sky, crushing the officer instantly. Blood and rubble scatter across the ground. Screams erupt from the crowd. Panic explodes like wildfire as people run for their lives. The world, once saved by a hero, is now ending because of him. Jungsu and his family join the fleeing crowd, running desperately to escape the approaching catastrophe. Amidst the chaos, Dabin tugs at her brother's sleeve, crying and asking him to slow down. Jungsu lifts her into his arms, urging her to hold on tightly as they run through the sea of terrified people. Above, Kim Min-soo, the fallen hero, observes the scene from the sky. His eyes glow with a sinister red light. Behind him lies the aftermath of his devastation. Countless bodies litter the ground, some torn apart, others too mangled to recognize. Flames rise, the stench of blood and smoke filling the air. Below him, hundreds of people flee in terror, clinging desperately to the last threads of life. Watching them, Kim Min-soo's expression twists in disgust. He wonders if they truly believe they can escape alive. His face darkens with hatred as he calls their struggle disgusting. To him, their hope, their attempt to survive, is meaningless. The hero leaps into the air once more, determination and rage filling his eyes, his only intent to kill everyone. Jungsu runs through the crowd, clutching Dabin tightly. Suddenly, a man crashes into him, shouting angrily for him to get out of the way. In that moment, Dabin's teddy bear slips from her grasp, falling to the ground and rolling beneath a nearby car as people trample past. Dabin panics, pulling at her brother's hair and begging him to stop. She cries for her teddy bear, pleading with Jungsu to retrieve it. Jungsu tells her it's too dangerous right now, but she continues to beg, sobbing that their father had bought it for her. Their father, a Navy officer, had given her the teddy bear before they fled. Unable to refuse, Jungsu quickly seats Dabin on top of a nearby car. He asks which car the teddy has fallen under. Still crying, Dabin points to a white car a few meters behind them. Jungsu nods and tells her to keep an eye on where their mother and grandmother are going. They'll catch up right after he retrieves the toy. Struggling through the panicked crowd, Jungsu pushes forward toward the car. He bends down, crawling under it to reach the teddy bear. It takes effort. The crowd keeps pushing, the ground trembling with chaos. At that same moment, Kim Min-soo descends before the fleeing crowd. His shadow looms over the screaming masses. As Jungsu stretches his arm under the car, the hero raises his massive sword high above his head, his voice echoing with madness, demanding that everyone share his sorrow. When Jungsu finally grabs hold of the teddy bear, Kim Min-soo swings his weapon down. A blinding flash follows. The ground splits apart as the hero's attack lands. The people in front of him are instantly torn in half. Blood sprays through the air, bodies crushed under the force. Explosions erupt across the field as fire consumes everything in sight. The once crowded road becomes an inferno of destruction and screams. Jungsu pulls himself up, panting heavily. His eyes widen in terror at the sight before him. Only fire, smoke, and piles of lifeless bodies remain. The ground burns, and the smell of blood and death fills the air. He begins shouting frantically, calling for Dabin, for his mother, for his grandmother. But there is no response. Then his eyes fall on something beneath the rubble. He realizes he has stepped on a small hand, the hand of a child crushed under debris. It's Dabin. Horror and disbelief seize Jungsu. He screams her name, frantically clawing at the rubble, trying to free her. His tears fall uncontrollably as he realizes the truth. Daibin is gone. His breath trembles. His stomach churns as he tries to hold back vomit, his body shaking violently. As he collapses in despair, the hero appears behind him. Jungsu turns around, his tear-streaked face twisting in confusion and rage. Kim Minsu, his expression hollow and lifeless, stares down at him. In a low, heavy voice, he tells Jungsu that he has good eyes. Jungsu stares back, trembling, and asks if the man standing before him is truly the hero. Kim Minsu's reply is calm but chilling. He says that Jungsu's eyes are like his own, eyes that have lost everything. Eyes without hope, without dreams. Jungsu screams at him, demanding to know if he was the one who did all this. Kim Minsu gives a dark, lifeless nod. Furious, Jungsu curses him, grabbing a broken metal pipe from the ground. He lunges forward, shouting that he'll kill the hero with his own hands. But before he can strike, Kim Minsu catches him easily by the neck. Jungsu struggles, gasping for air as the hero's grip tightens around his throat. Tears stream down his face as he kicks and claws, trying to free himself. Kim Minsu's face grows darker, his glowing red eyes burning with twisted hatred. The weapon in his other hand begins to radiate golden light. He slams Jungsu to the ground, pinning him down. In the next instant, the sword pierces straight through Jungsu's stomach. Blood bursts from his mouth as his body jerks violently. The ground beneath him stains deep red as the hero lifts him by the sword. That day, Yungsu Park loses everything: his family, his hope, his life, to the very hero the world once worshipped. In his final moments, his fading thoughts wander to those he loved. He apologizes to Daibin, to his parents, to his grandmother, for failing to protect them. His vision fades. His eyes close slowly as life leaves his body. But then, a faint voice echoes in the darkness. Someone calls out to him, urging him to wake up. He hears a girl's voice, gentle, warm, calling him her hero, telling him to pull himself together. When Jungsu opens his eyes, his vision is blurry at first. Then he sees her, a young girl smiling brightly down at him, her face glowing in relief. She thanks him softly, saying she's glad the hero has regained his senses. Jungsu lies on the ground, disoriented, surrounded by a bright, intricate magic circle inscribed with glowing ancient symbols. His eyes widen in shock as realization dawns upon him. He has become the very thing he once despised: the hero. A year has passed since the hero's rampage. The once thriving cities now lay in ruins, burning endlessly as the government crumbled into chaos. The world had changed beyond recognition. Just like Kim Minsu, others who had gone missing during the same period had also returned. Each of them hailed as heroes. These 9 heroes conquered vast lands, dividing the territories among themselves. Only Seoul, the city once belonging to Kim Minsu, remained untouched and unclaimed. That was how the world came to exist in its current fractured state. Jeju Island, the domain ruled by the hero of golems, was a landscape of devastation. Gigantic craters scarred the earth, while fire and smoke endlessly consumed what little remained. Amidst the destruction, a massive eye-shaped construct hovered in the air, a surveillance golem silently observing the land. Inside one of the ruined buildings, dozens of people lay sleeping on the cold floor, covered only by thin sheets. Among them, a girl lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She muttered softly that she wanted to die. Nearby, another child turned toward her and asked her to stop saying such things, warning that she might bring misfortune to others. The girl rolled to her side and replied bitterly that it didn't matter anymore, questioning why anyone should live in a world like this. Tears filled the other child's eyes as she pleaded with the girl to take back her words, reminding her that they had fled to the island because they wanted to live. Frustrated, the girl buried her face in her arms and whispered that this wasn't the kind of life she had wanted. Suddenly, the door slammed open with a loud metallic crash. A massive hand-shaped golem entered, its palm fitted with a speaker that blared an announcement. It declared that it was time for work and ordered everyone to move if they wanted to survive. The children hurriedly gathered their few belongings as multiple hand-like golems echoed the same commands, their voices repeating mechanical orders while calling out numbers. Outside, long lines of people had formed under the cold, gray sky. Trembling and shivering, their faces showed only fear and despair. Heavy footsteps approached from a distance. The golems aligned themselves, stacking to form a staircase-like structure. A figure ascended these living steps, rising above the terrified crowd. Silence fell. Standing at the top was the red-haired hero, Sung Woo-jeon, the hero of golems. With a calm expression and a faint smile, he snapped his fingers. From the ground, the mud began to rise, swirling in the air and forming a spherical mass that slowly reshaped itself into two enormous speakers. A microphone extended from one of them as the hero prepared to speak. With a bright smile, he announced that another day had begun. He explained the day's agenda. Women were to gather food, while men were to work on the construction at the Sage Tower. Halfway through his speech, he noticed the dull, lifeless expressions among the crowd. His smile faltered, and with a nervous expression, he questioned why everyone looked so dead, as if they didn't want to work. From among the people, the same girl from earlier quietly muttered that, of course, nobody wanted to work. Trying to maintain composure, the hero continued speaking, saying that they should feel grateful to him. He reminded them that if they had ended up in the territories ruled by the vampire hero or the faith hero, they would have become blood slaves, deranged followers, or test subjects for experiments. The crowd remained silent. The hero's face twitched in irritation, his smile twisting into a sinister grin. He flexed his fingers, preparing to snap them again, and wondered aloud if he had been too kind lately. Fear spread instantly among the people. Their eyes widened in horror as realization dawned. Panicked screams erupted, and the crowd began to scatter in all directions. The golems standing in formation mimicked their master, raising their hands and miming the same flicking gesture. In the next instant, the hero flicked his fingers, and every golem fired compressed air blasts like cannons toward the fleeing people. The air exploded with devastating force. Screams turned into silence as the blasts tore through the crowd, leaving gaping holes in their chests. Bodies fell one after another, blood pooling on the cold earth. Among the fallen stood the same girl from earlier, frozen in shock, her eyes lifeless. Her friend, the same one who had told her not to speak of death, now lay among the dead. Kneeling beside her, the girl gently placed her hands on her friend's face, closing her eyes for the last time. With a trembling voice, she mourned that she had once again survived while everyone around her had died. Above, the hero roared in anger. He raised his hand, shouting for the remaining survivors to move before he decided to shoot again. To him, they were nothing more than livestock. Time passed. Women were seen working in the gardens, picking and gathering food as ordered by the hero. The girl, her name revealed as Somin, exhaled cold, visible breaths while working under the harsh climate. As she picked tangerines, an elderly woman nearby poured the rest of her collected fruit into Somin's basket. Confused, Somin looked at her. The old lady asked if her name was Somin and remarked that such a young girl had to endure unimaginable hardship. She told Somin to take a walk and rest, saying that her quota for the day was already fulfilled. Somin hesitated and asked about the old lady's quota instead. The woman smiled faintly and said that she had picked tangerines her entire life. This was nothing for her. Pointing upward, she warned Somin to be cautious of the floating eye-like golem constantly watching from above. Following her suggestion, Somin walked away into the woods until she reached the coast. Sitting near the shore, she peeled and ate a tangerine, watching the endless waves crash against the rocks. The ocean always made her feel calmer. Perhaps that was why she had fled to Jeju Island in the first place. As she ate, tears rolled down her cheeks. She broke down, whispering apologies, sorry for doing nothing while her friend died. Her quiet sobs were interrupted by a voice nearby. A soldier in uniform appeared, weak and tired. He asked if she had any food. She offered him some tangerines and a few pieces of chocolate, saying it was all she had. The soldier ate hungrily, as if he hadn't eaten in days. Then, gripping her hand desperately, he begged for more food, explaining that he had crewmates aboard a ship and had come alone to gather supplies. Somin nervously told him that it was too dangerous. If the hero found out, she would be caught. She then asked the soldier a question. She wanted to know if they would fight the hero once they were no longer starving. Still holding her hand, the soldier said they would fight, to their last breath. Once their morale returned, they might be able to reclaim the island. Somin glanced upward. The floating eye golem was facing the opposite direction. She calculated that if she ran through the forest, she could return before it turned back. Determined, she told the soldier she would risk her life to bring him more food, asking him to promise that they would take back the island. A few minutes later, she ran toward the coast, carrying a basket full of tangerines. As she ran, she reflected on her earlier thoughts, that she often said she wanted to die, but deep down, she didn't truly want death. What she feared most was living each day without ever truly living. With a firm heart, she decided she would no longer just survive, she would fight back. When she arrived at the shore, the basket slipped from her hands, spilling tangerines across the sand. Her eyes widened in horror. Standing there was the hero of golems, Sung Woo-jeon. The hero looked at her with a mocking smile, calling her a rat. Around him lay the corpses of the soldiers, the ocean's edge stained crimson with their blood. Before So-min could react, another golem appeared from behind, seizing her tightly and lifting her into the air as it squeezed her body. Struggling, So-min asked how he had found her, insisting that the surveillance golem hadn't been watching this area. With a calm expression, the hero replied that she was naive to think there was only one. Blinking once, he deactivated his invisibility mode, and in that instant, hundreds upon thousands of floating eyeball golems appeared across the sky. So-min stared upward, her face pale with shock and horror. Seeing her terrified reaction, the hero laughed maniacally, his grin twisted with insanity. He said that he preferred to toy with people because it was more entertaining that way. Her fear turned into rage. Trembling, she cursed him for everything he had done. The hero smiled darkly, telling her that it was her own fault, that if she thought it was unfair, perhaps she should just become a hero herself. Extending his hand, he muttered that when heroes suffered, they should have comforted the heroes instead. The golem's grip tightened around So-min, crushing her as she screamed in agony. Tears filled her eyes as she thought that she only wanted to fight back, even once. She cried out with every ounce of her strength, begging for someone, anyone, to fight for her, because she could not. The sky suddenly erupted in blinding light. Multiple flashes illuminated the heavens, and a massive beam of energy descended from above, obliterating the surrounding golems. The golem hero shielded himself as the shockwave tore through the land, fragments of his creations flying everywhere. As the dust settled, a lone figure emerged, armored, holding a spear, standing firm amidst the destruction. The hero of golems narrowed his eyes in fury, demanding to know who this person was. The girl, still trapped and trembling, looked up in disbelief. Before her stood another hero. Hero, Jungsu Park had returned. His eyes gleamed with nothing but hatred and vengeance. Jungsu's gaze drifts to the side. Giant golems stand towering over the battlefield, clutching lifeless, crushed soldiers in their stone hands. He turns to the girl beside him and calmly asks her to explain the situation. So-min looks at him in shock, unable to believe what he's asking amidst such chaos. Suddenly, a thunderous voice erupts. The golem hero, enraged, demands to know who Jungsu is and why he dares to infiltrate his region. Jungsu narrows his eyes, observing him intently. Something feels off. The golem hero doesn't seem like he's part of the hero's party. The girl's eyes widen in confusion. Even the golem hero doesn't recognize Jungsu. Realizing this, So-min decides to seize her chance. She cries out, accusing the golem hero of being an underling of the sword hero. The golem tightens its grip on her body, bones creaking as pain shoots through her. But despite the agony, she continues, her voice strained yet defiant. She claims that the golem hero has taken over Jeju Island, slaughtering its people and even killing the soldiers stationed there. The golem hero's fury ignites. The golem's grip tightens further, rage burning in his eyes. He bellows at So-min, demanding how she dares to speak so casually in his presence. Jungsu tilts his head slightly, saying he now understands the situation. He then raises his gaze and asks one final question. In that moment, his expression darkens. A sinister aura spreads around him as his voice turns cold. He asks whether everything the girl said is true. The golem hero's eyes widen in surprise, but in the next instant, his face twists with anger. He growls that it doesn't matter, even if it were true. Jungsu's lips curl as he speaks a single chilling word. Die. Jungsu plants his foot firmly on the ground, stretching out his arm and gripping his spear tightly. The weapon gleams in his hand as he takes his stance. The golem hero sneers back and raises his guard. At his command, countless hand-shaped golems emerge from the ground, surrounding Jungsu. From above, floating eye-like golems release a barrage of glowing red energy beams toward him. As the deadly beams close in, Jungsu spins his spear with overwhelming speed, generating a violent gust. The energy blasts, and the golems are shredded into nothingness. In the same instant, Jungsu dashes forward with incredible velocity. The air ripples around him. Behind him, explosions erupt as the remaining golems detonate. The golem hero's eyes widen. He can't keep up. Panic flickers across his face as Jungsu closes the distance in a heartbeat. Desperately, he stretches out his arm to block, but Jungsu's spear flashes. In a blur of motion, both of the golem hero's hands are sliced clean off. Blood gushes forth as the severed limbs fall to the ground. The golem hero collapses, screaming in agony. Still writhing, he sneers through the pain, spitting curses at Jungsu. But before he can finish, Jungsu drives a powerful kick into his face, slamming him to the ground. Placing his foot on the golem hero's chest, Jungsu points his spear downward, his voice cold and final. He declares that this is the end. So-min watches in disbelief. The man before her, Jungsu, had single-handedly overpowered the same golem hero who destroyed an entire naval fleet. With a grim expression, Jungsu lowers his spear closer and demands answers. His deep, steady voice cuts through the silence as he asks, when the golem hero spoke of the sword hero, did he mean the one in white armor? Panic and anger twist across the golem hero's face. He grits his teeth, replying that he doesn't know. Before he can say more, Jungsu moves. His spear flashes, slicing off one of the golem hero's legs. Blood stains the weapon's shaft as Jungsu lifts it again, eyes cold and merciless. He warns that every time the golem hero says, "I don't know," he will remove another piece of his body. Once more, he asks whether the white-armored hero is indeed the sword hero. Trembling and writhing in pain, the golem hero finally nods, admitting that it is true. Jungsu then presses on, demanding the sword hero's whereabouts. Grinding his teeth, the golem hero hesitates, but before he can speak, Jungsu's spear slashes again. His other leg is severed and flung into the air. The golem hero screams in agony as tears stream down his face. He begs Jungsu to spare him, but Jungsu's tone remains cold. He replies that he won't, because he's long given up on being human. Still, he offers one mercy. If the golem hero answers his question truthfully, he will grant him a painless death by cutting off his head. The golem hero suddenly grins, his voice trembling as he mutters that he wasn't talking to Jungsu. In that instant, countless golems, hand-alike and eyeball-shaped, surge from behind Jungsu. The golem hero had been speaking to them all along. The golems lunge at Jungsu, while others turn towards So-min. Her eyes widen in shock as she screams, asking why they're targeting her too. The swarm of golems crashes down, piling on Jungsu in a violent explosion. Red energy beams rain from above, engulfing the battlefield in light and dust. Through the chaos, the golem hero is lifted high into the air by his minions, carried away from the blast. The ground below is obliterated. Shattered remains of golems lie scattered amid the smoke. Breathing heavily, the amputated golem hero stares down in dread, blood pouring from his wounds. His eyes tremble as his thoughts drift away into a memory. In his mind, he recalls a girl kneeling before him, clutching his hand tightly. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she begged him not to give up. She pleaded that if he abandoned his duty to save their world, the Demon King's next target would be his own world, the place he came from. Crying desperately, she begged him to save her world for the sake of his own. The golem hero, at that time, only wished for one thing in return, a simple thank you. When he returned home after saving their world, he only wanted to hear, "Welcome back. You've done well." But instead, what awaited him was rejection. His father scorned him, shouting that he didn't remember having a son like him. He was told to get out of his father's sight. Everywhere he went, he was unwelcome. He tried to find a place to live, but was driven out for being a mere teenager. He tried working, but was deceived and exploited. He had saved the world, yet no one cared. No one welcomed him home. Eventually, he thought that if saving the world only brought him pain, then destroying it might bring him peace. Back in the present, tears fill the golem hero's eyes as he mutters that this world is his. He refuses to die here. Glancing down, he looks for Jungsu amidst the smoke. But his eyes widen in horror. Jungsu stands tall, completely unharmed. The golems that had attacked him are nothing but ashes, and So-min stands behind him, safe. Jung-soo grips his spear tightly, raising it to throw. His voice echoes coldly across the ruined battlefield. He declares that the golem hero cannot escape because every hero deserves to die. Panic floods the golem hero's face as he channels his final desperate attack, the prayer flower. Dozens of hand-like golems arrange themselves in a massive circular pattern, with a glowing eyeball golem at the center. The formation radiates a crimson-red light, pulsing violently. Jung-soo's arm begins to glow with a radiant blue hue. Ancient rune symbols appear on his skin, sparking with energy. He infuses his weapon with the power of electricity. The spear hums with bright blue lightning, crackling intensely as Jung-soo activates his skill. Electrical javelin technique, godly lightning strike. He hurls the weapon with incredible force. The spear streaks through the air like a bolt of divine lightning, colliding head-on with the crimson energy of the prayer flower. The sky erupts with blinding light. The spear tears through the golem's combined energy, unstoppable, and continues its path. It pierces through the central eyeball golem, then drives straight through the golem hero himself. The thunderous impact splits the sky. The spear leaves a gaping hole through the golem hero's chest as the shockwave ripples across the ocean below. That is the final moment of the golem hero, the one who had destroyed Jeju Island and annihilated the UN naval fleet. His lifeless body falls from the sky, crashing to the ground. Jung-soo stands still, his cold, calculating eyes watching the aftermath. So-min, trembling, looks on in shock at the sight. Far away, in another world that the golem hero once saved, a young girl instructs her companions to move a large statue slightly to the side. It is a monument built in his honor. She sighs softly, saying that it finally feels like they've repaid the golem hero, the one who saved their world. The girl and the comrades of the golem hero kneel together, praying earnestly for his peace and happiness along with the other warriors. But in his own world, the golem hero breathes his final breath, tears filling his eyes as his body lies butchered and broken. A tragic end for the hero who once saved millions. The golem hero had fallen. With his death, the golems that once controlled the castle collapsed alongside him. For the first time since the hero's rampage, peace finally returned to the island. After some time, a girl carefully pushed open the massive doors of the building. The people who had been enslaved and trapped by the golem hero were at last released. Their cries of joy filled the air. Some embraced one another in disbelief, while others wept as they felt the weight of their long-lost freedom. Laughter, tears, and relief echoed through the ruins as families reunited and strangers celebrated together. From a distance, Jung-soo watched the scene silently. His face showed no emotion, but deep inside, the sight reminded him of the family he once had: a loving father, a caring mother, a son, and a little daughter. His gaze lingered on one family whose warm reunion mirrored his own lost memories. His eyes narrowed faintly, though they lacked any light. He imagined himself sharing the same kind of reunion with his family, a dream far beyond reach, one that would never come true. He muttered softly, admitting to himself that he envied those who still had a place to return to. Suddenly, a noise rustled from behind him, breaking his thoughts. Jung-soo turned quickly, raising his weapon toward the sound. Behind the bushes, a figure froze. It was So-min. She flinched, startled to see a weapon pointed straight at her. Realizing, Jung-soo lowered his weapon, announcing hastily and nervously that it was her, the girl from the field. So-min, still uneasy, asked why he was hiding out in the bushes. Everyone, she said, wanted to meet the person who had slain the golem hero. She asked him to come down with her to meet them. With a frown, Jung-soo replied that there was no merit in being known as the hero who killed another hero. Such a thing would only reignite the people's fear. Turning away, he added that he never cared about praise to begin with. So-min smiled faintly, saying that he was kind. She explained that if he truly didn't care, he wouldn't have thought about other people's feelings at all. Jung-soo glanced back briefly, replying that she could think whatever she wanted. It didn't matter, since they would never see each other again anyway. So-min then asked one question. Was he planning to kill all the heroes? With a look of disdain and anger in his voice, Jung-soo affirmed it. He declared that he would kill everyone working with the sword hero. So-min asked if this was out of revenge. Jungsu replied coldly that there could be no other reason. Then, with quiet determination, Somin stated that she wanted to help him. She wanted her revenge too. Jungsu's expression didn't change. He remained silent for a few seconds before asking if she was insane. The girl insisted that he might see her as a burden, but she still begged him to take her along. She then asked if he even knew where all the heroes were. Jungsu stayed silent, listening. Somin continued, saying that she knew their locations. She had seen everything on her journey from Seoul to Jeju. She had some idea of which regions were controlled by which hero, and she knew the kinds of powers they each possessed. She added that Jungsu couldn't possibly reach Seoul on foot. They would need food, shelter, and transportation, things that required communication with ordinary people. She said she could do that for him. Clenching her fist in determination, she proposed to act as his guide. Jungsu asked her one thing: why go through all this? If she stayed on the island, he could at least promise her safety. She might even find some peace and happiness, far away from the chaos of the heroes. With a sorrowful look, So-min replied that she didn't have any power. Reaching into her pocket, she took out a piece of paper, a photo of her family, smiling together with her father and mother. She said that the sorrow of losing her family, the anger toward the heroes, and the longing for the old world, all of these gave her reason. She admitted that she had no strength of her own, which was why she wanted to stay with him. Lowering her eyes, she confessed that she wanted revenge. Meanwhile, as the freed people rejoiced in their new freedom, the two who had granted it to them were beginning a new pact of their own. Jungsu told her that if she didn't mind being used or left behind, then she could follow him. With that, the two of them walked away together, filled with determination for the arduous journey ahead. After some time, they arrived at one of the buildings among the rubble of the ruined city. Jungsu sat quietly, sharpening the edge of his spear against a rock. His face remained cold and unreadable. So-min sat nearby, watching him in silence. Then, pulling out her notebook, she spoke. There were two options, she said: a nearby hero who was extremely troublesome to deal with, or another hero who was less of a problem but much farther away. She asked which one he planned to go after. With a grim and deep tone, Jungsu replied that he would choose the hero who would die the quickest. So-min, smiling faintly while taking notes, remarked that he never changed. She already knew he would choose that option. She then explained that their next opponent was the Sea Dragon hero, the most dangerous hero of the ocean. Having destroyed an entire fleet in the Pacific, she was infamous as the terror of the sea. The Sea Dragon under her control was as devastating as a nuclear bomb. She and her creature had even slaughtered refugees trying to reach Jeju Island. Tears welled up in So-min's eyes. Her cheeks flushed red as she revealed that her mother had been among those refugees, killed when the Sea Dragon hero attacked their boat. Before she could continue, Jungsu interrupted her sharply, telling her not to speak of the hero's crimes as if they were accomplishments. Their opponent was a murderer. The only thing that mattered was whether she deserved to die, and she did. What was more important now, he added, was that they needed a boat if they were going to fight at sea. So-min nodded quickly, saying she knew someone who could help. With a small grin, she explained that after they reclaimed the boat stolen by the Golem hero, some of the surviving Marines had begun rebuilding their fleet. After some time, Jungsu and So-min reached the coast. They were greeted by a group of surviving Marines, standing proudly beside a ship. The captain stepped forward and saluted Jungsu in gratitude, vowing that, for the sake of their fallen comrades, they would make sure to get him to the Sea Dragon hero. Somewhere in the middle of the southern coastal sea, violent lightning tore across the sky, illuminating the dark waters. Cyclones raged fiercely, and the ocean roared with deadly power. At the heart of the storm lay the Sea Dragon hero. A colossal, scaly beast coiled through the waves like a serpent, its sharp fangs glinting beneath flashes of lightning. Perched atop its massive body sat the hero herself, calm and regal amidst the chaos. The dragon's crimson eyes flared as it sensed intruders approaching its domain. The Sea Dragon hero placed a gentle hand on its head, her expression composed as she whispered reassurance. She declared that there was no way the intruders would ever reach land. The scene shifts to a faraway coast. A man sits cross-legged on the ground, quietly smoking a cigarette. Beside him lies a red spade, planted upright in the soil, surrounded by the makeshift burials of his fallen comrades. As he sits there in silence, the captain approaches and stops beside him, informing him that only 2 hours remain until departure. The man exhales smoke, puts out his cigarette, and slowly rises to his feet. Facing the captain, he admits with uncertainty that he doesn't know if this decision is right. They are not sure about anything anymore, not even whether Jungsu is a friend or an enemy. Slamming his fist against his chest, he adds bitterly that even if they manage to kill the sea dragon and return to land, there is no guarantee they can defeat Minsu. With a weary sigh, he asks why he must return to that hell again. The captain answers in a calm yet firm voice. He reminds him that the fact Jungsu killed the golem hero proves Jungsu intends to eliminate all of the other heroes. That is the only thing they know for certain. His tone darkens as he continues, questioning if that reason alone is not enough to trust Jungsu. More than 30 of his men he treated like his own sons, have died. Kneeling down, the captain places a hand on one of the graves. He says softly that if he meets his comrades after death, he wants to be able to face them with confidence, to tell them that even after their deaths, the Marines found a way forward, that they made use of the lives saved by their comrades, he says, and ensured their deaths were not in vain. The man clenches his teeth, tears streaming down his cheeks. The captain continues, saying that if the hero they are aiding truly is stronger than Minsu, then their voyage and their sacrifice will mark the beginning of the nation's freedom. Turning back toward the sea, the captain asks if the man is now willing to walk into hell with him. An hour after departure, their ship sails through the violent, unforgiving waters of the Southern Ocean. The waves crash mercilessly against the hull as storm clouds gather overhead. Inside a dimly lit cabin, Su-min sits at a desk, sketching hastily while Jungsu watches closely from the side. She shows him the drawing, a rough depiction of a massive sea dragon. Smiling nervously, she admits that she isn't very good at drawing, but says this is roughly what the creature looks like. Jungsu studies it for a moment, then and jokes that it looks more like a worm and a stick figure than an actual opponent. Flustered, Su-min snaps back, telling him not to mind that. She already said she wasn't good at drawing. Her cheeks flush red, but she continues, explaining that the important thing isn't just the dragon, but also the girl riding it. That's what sets them apart from other heroes. Analyzing the sketch, Jungsu notes that they seem to be able to act separately. But Su-min corrects him. From her observation, that isn't the case. The girl is always seen standing on top of the dragon, and the dragon never moves without her command. From what she's witnessed, the girl riding the dragon serves as the brain, while the dragon itself is the brawn. Jungsu then asks about their attack patterns. Su-min explains that during previous battles, particularly those involving soldiers who assisted refugee evacuations, the dragon either unleashed devastating blasts of fire or capsized ships with its massive body, while the girl blocked incoming attacks. Jungsu realizes the implication. The pair functions as both spear and shield, combining offense and defense. It's going to be difficult to handle them. Just as Su-min prepares to share her strategy, a sudden alarm blares through the ship. They rush outside. The deck is in chaos as Marines shout orders, scrambling into position. Jungsu grabs one of the panicked soldiers and demands to know what's happening. The soldier stammers that the radar has detected unidentified objects approaching. Inside the command deck, an operator stares anxiously at the radar screen, while the captain stands behind him. The operator reports in alarm that there are over 400 unidentified objects. His hands tremble as he exclaims that there are too many. Jungsu rushes to the bow of the ship, gripping his weapon and readying himself for battle. Beneath the waves, dark shadows swirl rapidly, disturbing the water's surface. One of the soldiers sets up a machine gun, aiming toward the approaching objects. He fires repeatedly, and hundreds of rounds tear through the water. Moments later, the sea turns red. When the gunfire ceases, countless bullet-riddled fish rise to the surface. Su-min looks on in surprise, realizing the detected objects were nothing but fish. With a sigh of relief, she admits she got scared for nothing, lightly touching one of the dead fish that flops aboard the deck. But Jung-soo's expression remains grim. He tells her that she should be afraid. The real threat is just beginning. His tone turns cold. Ahead of the ship, the water begins to twist violently. A massive whirlpool forms, and from its center, a strange blue light radiates upward. From the heart of the vortex, a colossal sea dragon rises, its piercing screech echoing across the ocean. The sheer force of its emergence sends towering waves crashing against the ship. On its head stands a young woman, the sea dragon hero, Sua Shin. Her sharp eyes fix on Jung-soo. She recognizes him immediately, the hero who killed the golem hero. Without hesitation, she prepares to annihilate the ship. The dragon opens its jaws, blue energy swirling inside its maw as it gathers immense power for a devastating attack. Inside the command deck, both the operator and captain turn pale with dread. The captain hesitates before shouting the order to dodge. Before they can act, Jung-soo's commanding voice cuts through the panic. He orders them to lower the anchor. The command stuns both the captain and operator. The operator, confused, says he'll turn the ship around immediately, but the captain, despite his trembling hands, stops him. After a tense pause, the captain orders the crew to follow the hero's instructions. With a sharp, ringing voice, he yells to lower the anchor. Chains clatter as the anchors drop into the depths below. Sua Shin's voice carries across the waves, cold, merciless, and filled with contempt, commanding them to disappear. The dragon unleashes its attack. A massive beam of blue energy bursts forth, tearing through the sea. The water churns violently beneath the blast. Jung-soo grips his weapon and activates weapon exchange. The spear in his hand glows with blue energy as it begins to change form. In an instant, a red beam descends from the sky and a massive cross-shaped weapon materializes before him, radiating a brilliant crimson light. Holding the weapon tightly with both hands, Jung-soo calls forth Anseal. A gigantic crimson shield manifests before the ship, gleaming with intense power. Glancing over his shoulder, Jung-soo warns the Marines to get down if they don't want to die. The dragon's energy beam collides with the crimson shield. The impact creates a deafening explosion, sending shockwaves of air and energy in every direction. Blinding light floods the sea, lightning crackles across the sky, and waves surge with violent force. One of the Marines watches in disbelief as Jung-soo blocks the Sea Dragon hero's attack head-on. The Marine quickly realizes that Jung-soo isn't fighting back. He's holding his ground to protect them. Realization dawns on the Marine's face. He turns toward the captain, shouting for distraction orders. The captain hesitates, sweat forming on his forehead. His expression hardens as he grabs the speaker with trembling hands. He announces to all crew members to prepare for battle. His voice echoes across the ship as he commands everyone to take aim. Their target is the head. The Marines scramble into position, guns raised and locked. The sound of safeties clicking off fills the air. In a synchronized moment, every firearm discharges at once. Missiles launch from the ship's deck, cutting through the air alongside a hail of bullets. The storm of firepower rushes toward the Sea Dragon hero, while Jung-soo continues to hold back the monstrous dragon's attack with all his might. The missiles approach rapidly. The Sea Dragon hero raises her trident, eyes glowing with calm determination. She chants her spell, Espita tu Tiada. Blue light radiates from her weapon as a shimmering barrier forms in front of her, the Shield of Atlas. Explosions erupt as missiles and bullets collide with the barrier, their force completely neutralized. Both the operator and the captain watch in horror as their attack fails. Their faces fall. The captain grits his teeth, frustration evident, and shouts for everyone not to lose heart. He reminds them that they already knew firearms were useless against the heroes. Their objective is not to win, but to distract the Sea Dragon hero as long as possible. In a commanding tone, he orders all personnel to keep firing and to use every last bit of ammunition and every operable weapon on the ship. Missiles launch again, one after another in relentless succession. The sea trembles with each blast. Meanwhile, Jung-soo remains locked in his position, gritting his teeth as he struggles to block the dragon's powerful attacks. Amidst the chaos, Jung-soo observes the battlefield carefully. He notices something. The attacks from the dragon have weakened slightly. He clenches his teeth, thinking quickly. The Marines' bombardment might not be completely useless. Since the Sea Dragon hero used a magical barrier, the dragon's power has decreased. A theory forms in his mind. She's sharing her mana with the dragon. If they can deplete her mana, they might have a chance. Despite the strain, Jungsu renews his determination and pushes forward, reinforcing his shield as waves crash around him. The Sea Dragon hero narrows her eyes, realizing that Jungsu has figured out the drop in her dragon's power. Calmly, she twirls her trident in one hand before tossing it into the air. Her voice is cold as she says it doesn't matter. She'll simply remove any reason to maintain the magical barrier. Catching the trident as it descends, she channels blue energy through it. The weapon glows intensely as she invokes her next spell, Doriatiada, the Spear of Atlas. With a powerful motion, she hurls the trident toward the ship. The spinning weapon cuts through the incoming missiles, causing mid-air explosions along its path before charging directly at the vessel. Just as it's about to collide with Jungsu's shield, the Sea Dragon hero raises her finger, glowing with blue energy, and redirects its trajectory. The trident abruptly veers upward, narrowly missing Jungsu's barrier. Jungsu clenches his teeth in frustration as the trident changes direction. Using both hands, the Sea Dragon hero manipulates the weapon mid-air. Blue energy spirals around her as she controls the trident's movements. The trident darts wildly through the air, attacking multiple directions at once. It pierces through mounted weapons on the ship, rips through steel, and impales a marine, leaving a gaping hole in his chest. The weapon continues its rampage, carving destruction across the deck. Alarms blare. The operator rushes toward the captain, panicked, shouting for him to dodge. Before he can move, the trident tears through the command deck, impaling the operator first, then flying straight toward the captain. The captain's eyes widen. A blinding flash fills his vision. Blood splatters across the deck. The trident bursts out of the control room, shattering glass as it exits. The trident rockets forward, emerging behind Jungsu, who is still locked in combat with the dragon. Both Su Min and the nearby soldiers spot the incoming attack and panic. The Sea Dragon hero smirks coldly. Bless, the Sea Dragon in front and the trident from behind. This is the end, hero with no name, she declares. The trident surges toward Jungsu's back at deadly speed. Blood splashes through the air, but not Jungsu's. A marine throws himself between the trident and Jungsu, taking the full impact. The weapon pierces through him, but he grabs it with trembling hands, straining with every ounce of his strength to stop it. His teeth grind as he shouts through the pain, refusing to let go. He remembers the captain's words, even on the doorstep of death. They must honor the sacrifices of their fallen comrades. The trident continues to push forward, but the marine resists, his body trembling violently. Finally, with all his remaining strength, he manages to halt its momentum, stopping it just inches away from Jungsu. His grip begins to weaken, hands shaking uncontrollably. The Sea Dragon hero's eyes widen, her jaw dropping in disbelief. Jungsu glances back, understanding what the man has done. The marine, on the verge of death, gives a faint smirk and tells Jungsu to make good use of his sacrifice. A moment later, his body collapses lifelessly. Jungsu watches in silence as the soldier's body falls. Then, he thanks the man with a renewed resolve. Blue runes glow across Jungsu's hand as he grips the trident with his other arm. Holding the weapon in his left hand, he channels his energy, infusing it with the glaciation element. A serene vision follows, a scene of the Marines who lost their lives. They stand together, greeting the fallen soldier with bright smiles. Tears well up in the man's eyes as he apologizes for being late. He did not run away. He faced death bravely for the greater cause. His comrades welcome him warmly, embracing him as they reunite beyond the mortal world, smiling in peace. The scene shifts to another world, a vast aquatic realm beneath the ocean's surface. Countless sea creatures of every color and species glide gracefully through the water, painting a living mural of movement and light. Amidst the glowing coral and drifting currents, a young girl in a school uniform appears out of nowhere. It is Suashin, the Sea Dragon hero, newly arrived in this world. Her wide eyes reflect pure astonishment as she takes in the breathtaking world before her, the kingdom of the sea dragons, Atlas. Curious figures soon surround her, their expressions kind and welcoming. From among them, a tall man approaches. He greets her warmly, noting that it must be her first time seeing the great kingdom. With a calm smile, he welcomes Suashin to his world and addresses her respectfully as the hero. Observing her demeanor, the man remarks that she seems far calmer than she did during her first visit. Stepping closer, he reminds her that she must have already heard about the way to return to her world and the great responsibilities she now bears. Suashin, still uneasy, nods nervously in reply. The man reassures her that she will grow accustomed to it with time. He says he has something for her. Curious, Suashin tilts her head and asks what it is. The man holds out a trident, its surface shimmering with faint blue light. He explains that it has been passed down for generations, a sacred weapon given only to the chosen one destined to become the hero of the sea dragons. As Suashin takes the trident in her hands, her arms tremble under its immense weight. The man affirms its significance. Bearing the trident means accepting the mantle of hero, and that from this moment, he entrusts his life to her. Smiling brightly, he asks if he can truly place his life in her hands. After a moment's hesitation, the girl looks into his eyes and nods. The man kneels before her, lowering his head in acknowledgement. Holding her hand, he kisses it gently, vowing to serve and protect her from anything that stands between her and the defeat of the Demon King. Back in the present, the same trident now rests in Jungsu's hands, its surface glowing with the icy brilliance of the glaciation element. Across from him, the Sea Dragon hero's expression turns fierce. Rage surges within her as she shouts, demanding how dare he, that the trident is not some random weapon for him to manhandle. She orders him to return it immediately. Jungsu's deep voice echoes coldly. He says he will return it indeed, but only to her skull. The dragon beside her roars, unleashing waves of power, while Jungsu stands his ground behind his crimson shield. Then, in a calculated motion, he deactivates the anseal, his eyes blazing with hatred. The crimson barrier shatters into fragments, scattering like glass across the ocean surface. He shifts into position, stretching his arm back to throw the trident. Blue-gray energy bursts from the weapon, intertwining with the red fragments of his broken shield. He channels his power, frozen spear technique, glacial path. A violent air pressure explodes outward, glowing vibrantly as Jungsu hurls the trident with all his strength. The weapon tears through the air at incredible speed, leaving behind a trail of frost. Below its trajectory, the sea instantly freezes solid, and massive shards of ice rise from the splashing waves. The Sea Dragon hero's eyes widen in panic as she realizes the attack is freezing even her dragon partner. She places her hand upon the creature's scales, pleading for it to stop. They must fortify their defenses, but the dragon, blinded by fury, continues its assault. The dragon then turns its head toward her, its eyes glowing a deep crimson. Suddenly, it halts its attack and closes its mouth. Kneeling on the dragon's back, the Sea Dragon hero channels her magic into the creature. Blue energy begins to swirl around her, forming intricate patterns of light. She chants her incantation, Gigantier Espita tu Tiada. A massive bluish barrier unfolds before her, the grand shield of Atlas. As the trident speeds toward them, multiple layers of glowing shields emerge in rapid succession, stacking one after another before the dragon. Smirking nervously, the hero boasts that even the pterodactyl demon king couldn't pierce the 5-tier magical defense barrier. She challenges Jungsu to try if he can. The trident collides with the first layer, cracks spider across its surface before it shatters instantly. Then the 4th layer breaks. Then the 3rd. Suashin's expression falters. Panic and disbelief set in as she whispers that it's impossible. The 2nd layer shatters next. Only the final barrier remains. The trident slams into it, and deep fractures spread all over, but this time, the shield holds. Breathing heavily, Suashin sighs in relief and smiles faintly, saying she managed to block the attack and can now activate Blesse again. But before she can react, Jungsu's presence vanishes. Startled, she looks around, panic flooding her eyes. Suddenly, she spots him, already standing before her on the frozen water formed by his earlier attack. In his hand gleams a cross-shaped spear, radiating crimson light. Realization hits her. His earlier technique wasn't meant to destroy Bless, but to create a frozen path straight to her. Her pupils shrink as fear grips her. Jungsu raises his weapon high, crimson and dark energy swirling around it. He swings it downward with all his might. A massive wave of dark crimson energy surges forth, slicing cleanly through the dragon's body. Blood sprays through the air as the dragon lets out a thunderous cry of agony. The violent shockwave tears across the battlefield, parting the ocean itself. The sea dragon hero is caught in the strike as well, her body split down the middle. As her upper body falls, she glances at her dragon companion, tears welling in her eyes. With her final breath, she whispers her love to it. Jungsu's attack ends. Both the sea dragon hero and her partner, beings bound by love and loyalty, are slain together. The scene shifts to a memory. Before the hero of the sea dragons lies the corpse of the pterodactyl demon king, its chest torn open by a massive wound. Tears stream down Sua's cheeks as she exclaims that they have finally defeated it. The dragon beside her begins to transform, shifting into human form. It is the very man who once gave her the trident. He smiles gently and lifts the exhausted hero into his arms. Looking at her fondly, he tells her they have finally changed their predetermined fate and praises her for her courage. Blushing, Suashin gazes up at him as her cheeks flush red. He leans in and kisses her under the golden hues of the setting sun. Tears well in her eyes once more. When he asks why she's crying on such a joyful day, Suashin admits that the Demon King's death means their farewell is near. She's glad to return home, but hates the thought of parting from him. With a reassuring smile, the man tells her he will follow her to her world. Her eyes widen in disbelief, her face reddening again. He declares that he has fulfilled his duties as the king of Atlas and protector of balance. Now, he will live on as her companion, her man. Inside the grand hall of Atlas, the king's ministers protest anxiously. They plead with him to reconsider his plan. How could he possibly go to the world of heroes? That realm differs from theirs. It could destroy him. The king responds calmly, saying that the hero adapted to their world without trouble. Surely, he can do the same. Pointing to the man behind him, he states that his successor has already been chosen and that his royal duty, defeating the Demon King, is complete. He will now dedicate the rest of his life to fulfilling his promise as the hero's partner. Standing before the dimensional gate, he kneels and takes Suashin's hand. Sliding a ring onto her finger, he pledges himself to her. The girl bursts into tears of joy as he smiles in satisfaction. But their happiness does not last. Time passes. The man kneels over a toilet, writhing in agony. His body, once human in appearance, struggles violently. Scales begin to appear across his face, his breath shallow and pained. Suashin knocks on the bathroom door, her voice trembling as she asks if he's all right. Emerging with a forced smile, the man pats her head and insists it's nothing. He tells her they should continue their date, but cracks soon appear in their peaceful life. One evening, Suashin returns home cheerfully, only to freeze in horror. The room is in chaos, furniture smashed and scattered. In the center, the man kneels on the floor, half transformed into his dragon form, trembling uncontrollably. Scales cover half his body, and a tail extends behind him. Through clenched teeth, he begs her not to come closer. Ignoring his plea, she runs to him with tears streaming down her face. Hugging him tightly, she says she's been saving money, enough for them to move to a deserted island. There, away from people, he wouldn't have to suffer so much. She tells him they can build a small house by the shore and live peacefully. Trembling, the half-dragon man embraces her back, tears mixing with pain. She sobs, begging him never to tell her to stay away again. Days later, they reach the southern seaport of Yosu. Boarding a ferry bound for the open sea, the man hides under a thick robe, concealing his draconic features. As the ferry sails across the calm waters, Suashin comforts him, assuring him they're almost there. But the man trembles violently, apologizing under his breath. He can't hold it any longer. Moments later, a blinding flash engulfs the ferry. His body surges and expands uncontrollably. The ship flips as the man transforms into his true form, a massive sea dragon. News spreads quickly. The government brands them as terrorists, just like Kim Min-soo. Images of the sea dragon flood the news, and they become hunted villains. Eventually, warships surround them, weapons locked and ready to strike. But the couple fights back, destroying every ship that dares to approach. Standing atop the dragon's head, Suashin declares she doesn't care if the world calls them villains. Her lover once fought to protect her world. Now it's her turn to protect him. Now, in the cold present, their lifeless bodies lie on the frozen ocean. The dragon and the girl side by side, blood staining the ice. With his final breath, the dragon whispers that he loves her too. In another place, Kim Min-soo sits beside a broken statue engraved with the words, "The hero of return, Lee Sung-jun." His eyes are dark and hollow as ever. A young man in a school uniform approaches, his black hair fluttering in the cold wind. He informs Min-soo that both the golem hero and the hero of the sea dragons have been killed by the newly returned hero. Scattered across the ground are photos of Jung-soo and images of the fallen heroes, lifeless and bloodied. The man explains that the people now have a new hope. The eternal sorrow Min-soo brought upon this country is beginning to fade. He asks if Min-soo plans to move, if he intends to act to preserve the dark image he has cast. Min-soo says nothing. He simply stares at the photos in silence. Then, slowly, he stands. A faint grin crosses the other man's face. He remarks that this is more like the hero he remembers. Min-soo grips his sword tightly. His eyes remain hollow, yet filled with grim resolve. He sets out to crush the very light of hope that has begun to rise, Jung-soo. The scene shifts to another place, the arsenal of spears. Racks and numbered compartments hold spears of every kind, each kept separately in its assigned slot. An armored man walks alongside a woman, reporting that the first spear, Burbosh, has returned, and that a new report says the fifth spear, Ansil, has disappeared. The woman remains silent, contemplating the news. The armored man continues that it is most likely the hero who has spawned, but before he can finish, the woman confirms with a quiet certainty that it has begun, the revenge the hero so desired. She turns to the man and orders him to call all the blacksmiths. They must mend as many spears as possible. This time, she says, it is time to repay their debts to the hero. The armored man salutes and answers affirmatively, then departs. The woman stays behind, watching the spears in the arsenal. Sadness creeps over her face as she lowers her gaze and remembers the first time the hero arrived. Her thoughts drift into a flashback. At first, the hero showed no interest in saving the woman's world. Among all generations of spear-bearers, Jung-soo pushed himself the hardest. He trained tirelessly, driving his body to the limit. He never stopped, even when it hurt. He kept training, eager to grow stronger. When the woman informed him during training that they could proceed to the next stage, Jung-soo gripped her hand and refused, insisting he was not finished until he said so. He declared he was too weak compared to Min-soo and could not move forward like that. He cursed his weakness and blamed it for the death of Da-bin, his little sister. He fulfilled his duties without question, sinking into silence afterward. On one mission, Jung-soo pushed himself deeper into the dungeon to gain power, plunging into hordes of goblins and slaughtering them all. His party members watched in fear and begged him not to go any farther, but Jung-soo did not listen. He swung his spear relentlessly. Even as he struggled, he kept pushing forward. Goblins kept coming, and Jung-soo fought on. The leader goblin struck him from behind on the head with a blow so vicious he collapsed, bloodied and near death. Even then, all Jung-soo could think of was revenge. The goblins blurred into images of Min-soo, multiplied. Each time he struggled, the thought of vengeance pulled him up and forced him onward, destroying anything that stood in his way. He became a man possessed, stabbing and killing to gain strength and quench his thirst for revenge. His party watched, terrified, as he yelled, "Die, die," like a madman. Blood sprayed everywhere. His body begged to yield. Even after he slaughtered every goblin in the dungeon, the victory only further broke him. The thirst for revenge stripped him of his humanity. He hallucinated. Da-bin among the corpses, begging to be saved, his mother telling him not to worry and to look after Da-bin, his grandmother half dead with a large rod impaled in her chest. Insanity took hold. The weight of their deaths and his helplessness ate at him. He clutched his head in pain. Instead of acting like a hero, he behaved like a sinner or a vengeful spirit. On another mission, the woman asked to put ointment on his wounds, noting he seemed to have only bandages wrapped around him. His body was scarred and marked by countless cuts, a testament to his endurance and resolve. Gently, she asked why he kept fighting, whether he was not tired and in pain. She cautioned that it was not her place to pry, but wondered what his family would say to see his body so ravaged. With a grim, hollow expression, Jung-soo replied that he had no family to return to. Everyone was dead. She then asked why he was so intent on reaching the Demon King. She had thought he was trying to return home as quickly as possible. While sharpening his spear, Jungsu answered that there was someone he must kill when he returned. The woman was stunned, refusing to believe anyone stronger than Jungsu existed. She worried that abusing his own body for revenge would only harm him. Jungsu, thinking of the sword hero Minsu, said Minsu was strong and that he needed abilities that would overpower him. He declared he would become stronger than Minsu and tear him limb from limb. Once Minsu was incapacitated, Jungsu would hold him under a burning sun and shave through his skin daily like sashimi. He laughed like a madman as he said it. He continued that when Minsu's wounds healed, he would slice him thin again and again, feed Minsu his own skin to prolong his suffering endlessly. The woman reacted in horror, her jaw dropping. Jungsu wanted Minsu to suffer for every life Minsu had taken, slowly and painfully. He was deeply twisted inside. On the final battle with the Demon King, hundreds of weapons lay across the battlefield. The Demon King, on the brink of death, admitted defeat and remarked that this hero was extraordinarily powerful. Jungsu stared with a dead stare, devoid of any triumph. He poured an elixir of miracle from a heart-shaped bottle onto the Demon King. The red liquid painted crimson across the demon's armor. His teammates were stunned and could not understand why he would give such a thing to the enemy. Because of the elixir, the Demon King was fully revived and healed. The Demon King laughed and challenged Jungsu, asking whether he too wished to become corrupted and become the Demon King. Jungsu, with resolve in his eyes, told the Demon King to fight him again. He needed more strength and thus would keep fighting the Demon King. The battle repeated over and over. Jungsu healed the Demon King and fought him repeatedly until even the Demon King begged to be killed. Jungsu's body was smeared with the Demon King's blue blood as he pointed his weapon at the demon, refusing to stop. His teammates watched in stunned disbelief. Eventually, one teammate grabbed Jungsu from behind, begging him to stop, insisting he was already strong enough. The woman wept, holding Jungsu and promising they would help him achieve his revenge, pleading with him not to cross a line beyond which he could not return. She begged him to keep his humanity. Back in the present, blacksmiths work tirelessly repairing spears. The woman watches over the process with a careful, haunted gaze. She prays silently that Jungsu will remain human even after his revenge is fulfilled. Now Jungsu stands in the aftermath of his clash with the hero of the Sea Dragons. His expression is grim as he holds the spear and seal and the trident of the hero of Sea Dragons. His mind conjures hallucinations of Minsu taunting him, asking if anyone would ever cheer for Jungsu for what he has done. Jungsu's sense of self as savior is stripped away. Minsu's image tells him he is nothing. Jungsu mutters that it does not matter and stabs the illusion of Minsu until it vanishes. His face hardens in anger as he shouts that he is more than satisfied simply by being Minsu's murderer.